Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a former NASA engineer, right? Someone deep in the space and defense world. And he suddenly goes public with something. Well, something potentially world-changing. He's saying our planet might be absolutely teeming with hidden, unearthly technology. So today, we're doing a deep dive into an article covering these, frankly, shocking claims by Richard Van Doork. He's an ex-propulsion engineer, worked at NASA and Lockheed Martin. He first talked about this on the Ecosystemic Futures podcast last December. Our mission here, explore what Van Doork actually said about this alien tech, where it is, what it does, how hard it is to study, and we're sticking just to the info we have from these sources.
Right. And what's so interesting here, I think, is you've got this guy, Van Doork, with a really solid background, NASA, Lockheed, but then his claims are just extraordinary, really out there. So it kind of forces you to look closely at the actual details he gives, especially about the tech itself, and maybe even more the problems with trying to research it. Let's maybe start with his main assertion.
Absolutely. Yeah, he claims, and this is a quote, trillions of pieces of alien metals had been deposited all over the globe. Trillions. I mean, that's a number that's hard to even visualize. What exactly is he talking about? Are these like tiny fragments? And how are they different from, I don't know, meteor dust or something?
Yeah, it's a huge claim. And he does try to clarify. He says these aren't just random bits from crashes. He believes they're fundamentally different from the bits of debris experts had recovered from crashed spacecraft. His idea is that they may be part of a covert sensor network.
A covert sensor network?
Okay.
Which immediately makes you ask, well, sensing what? And for what purpose? And what could these tiny metal bits even do?
Exactly. And that's where it gets really wild. The capabilities he describes sound like science fiction. He said these materials could reconfigure itself depending on where it was.
Reconfigure themselves how?
He didn't specify how, but also that they could cloak itself and try to blend into the environment. His assessment was pretty stark. These things weren't just decades ahead of us, they were hundreds of years ahead.
Hundreds of years, wow. And how did they know they were actually alien?
Well, that's another fascinating part. Apparently, when they try to analyze them, like reverse engineer them, they turn into particles, like dust. And then isotropic analysis of that dust confirmed they were extraterrestrial.
Isotropic analysis. Remind us quickly what that involves.
Sure. It basically looks at the isotopes of the elements in the material, sort of like an atomic fingerprint. If the ratio of those isotopes doesn't match anything known on Earth, that's a very strong sign it came from somewhere else, off-world.
Okay, got it. So you have these self-reconfiguring, cloaking, alien dust particles scattered everywhere.
Yeah.
Potentially as sensors. Van Doork had a theory on why, didn't he? Something about influencing us?
He did. He suggested they could be trying to influence human society, that these things are part of an effort where someone or something is actually manipulating our species.
Manipulating us.
Yeah.
That's a heavy implication.
It is, and it really raises a profound question for you to think about, doesn't it? I mean, if claims like that were even possibly true, it changes everything. It's not just observation anymore. It's active interference, manipulation. You'd have to wonder, how might that influence shape things? Our culture, our tech, maybe even our politics. All happening subtly, under the radar. It's, quite unsettling.
Van Doork wasn't just speculating based on reports. He actually said he was involved, right? He mentioned being originally recruited by the U.S. Department of Defense and the Air Force to work on classified projects aimed at analyzing systems from crashed UFOs.
That's right. He had some inside perspective, supposedly. But here's another surprising detail he mentioned. He observed that it was mostly non-governmental organizations, so NGOs, maybe private groups, that were studying most of the recovered alien technology, not necessarily the U.S. government itself.
Private groups. That's interesting. Less oversight, perhaps.
Potentially. It suggests maybe a more decentralized effort, and maybe less transparent, too. But the challenge for anyone studying this stuff, government or private, sounds immense. Van Doork called them smart materials, and remember how they turn to dust.
Yeah, within a minute or two of trying to study them.
Exactly, turn to dust. So imagine you finally get this incredible piece of evidence, and poof, it's gone. It made reverse engineering basically impossible. It prevented duplication, which, as Van Doork noted, strongly suggested the tech was carefully constructed so that no one would be able to duplicate what they found.
Almost like a built-in security feature. You can look maybe briefly, but you definitely can't copy. That must have been incredibly frustrating for the scientists.
Absolutely maddening, you'd think. And besides turning to dust, there was another property he mentioned, another advanced one.
Right, the light bending thing.
Yeah, the ability to bend light around them. He described it as projecting the image of whatever was behind the extraterrestrial material in front so no one could see what was there. Like invisibility cloak, but more sophisticated.
Okay, so this cloaking tech, it wasn't just for the tiny metal bits. Bandurek also talked about giant triangle-shaped craft that could use this cloaking technology as well.
He was clear these craft were not ours and that they could effectively vanish after being seen.
And he explained how, right? Using that light-bending idea.
Yes, he said they were taking whatever was behind them and actually projecting it in front of them, which might be equivalent to taking the light rays and bending it around the actual triangle. So true cloaking.
And we have heard about large triangles before, haven't we, in other reports?
We have. It's a recurring theme in UAP discussions. You mentioned Matthew Brown, the former U.S. national security official. His disclosure about reading classified reports, one detailed a large black triangle-shaped UFO decloaked out of thin air over several Russian vessels in the Pacific.
Decloaked out of thin air. That aligns pretty well with Bandurek's description of the light-bending projection.
The consistency across different accounts, yeah, it's certainly notable when you're looking at Bandurek's claims. It adds a layer to consider.
And just to add one more piece of context here, another guest on that same Ecosystemic Futures podcast, Hal Puthoff, the UFO researcher, he apparently claimed the U.S. military had recovered and were studying at least 10 extraterrestrial craft since the 1940s.
10 craft since the 40s. That adds another dimension again, suggesting a longer history of interaction or at least recovery.
So, okay, we've covered a lot. Trillions of tiny cloaking metals, maybe manipulating us. Self-destructing materials, giant cloaking triangles, technology hundreds of years ahead. Where does this leave us? What does it all mean when you try to process it?
Well, it's a lot to take in, obviously. These claims from Bandurek are really extraordinary. You've got the invisible metals, the idea of alien influence, and just the sheer difficulty of studying tech that might be centuries beyond us. It really stretches the definition of hidden, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
And if you try to connect it to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
look, whether these specific claims are ever fully proven or not, accounts like these, they constantly push our boundaries, our understanding of what's possible. They force us to consider things far beyond our current science. And in doing that, they kind of reshape how we see Earth and our place in the cosmos. It's really about how you process information that seems to stretch reality itself. What does that process tell you about your own framework for knowledge?
That's a great point. It forces self-reflection, too. So the final thought to leave you with might be this. What would it truly mean? If our world was secretly teeming with technologies way beyond us, maybe even operating under some kind of unknown influence, what would that imply for our future, for how we see reality, our place in the universe? It's definitely something to think about.